Well, one NFL draft moment that always stands out to me, and you can tell I've got Eli Manning behind me holding up the Chargers jersey. 2004 NFL draft, promptly traded for Phillip Rivers and some picks. I love this moment because Eli really did not want to go to the Chargers, and basically was just like making backroom deals to get himself out of going to the Chargers because he wanted to be a big market team. He wanted to go to New York, etc. And it's just so funny because it's like something you would probably never really see in the modern era of the NFL. Like a lot of people are like, why didn't the Chargers just trade the first overall pick to the Giants? And there were a lot of reasons behind it, but I think a huge part of it is the Chargers, because they knew Eli wanted out of it so bad, they just wanted to make him hold up the jersey. And so they were like, you know what? We're going to get our quarterback. We're going to get Phil Rivers, NC State legend Phillip Rivers, out of this. We'll get some picks, and, we'll embarrass the New York Giants brand new QB1 by showing the world, how he tried to weasel his way out of playing for our team. So that's my favorite. There's a great NFL Films clip where they talk about it, and they say he was holding the jersey almost like it was radioactive, which is why I picked the photo behind me. Like, you just look at all the photos, look at all the videos of him, and he's just like, he's like touching it as little as he can. He does not want to touch this Chargers jersey. But, hindsight, it all worked out. Giants got their quarterback. They got a couple Super Bowls out of it. Chargers got consistency in Phillip Rivers for a while. And, all's well that ends well, I guess. But that to me, when I think NFL draft, like, it's that moment that comes to my head.
And it worked out for the Saints too, because they got Drew Brees out of it. They got a Super Bowl.
Right.
I feel like you could honestly say with the Chargers taking Eli, it might be the most impactful NFL draft pick of all time, because it set so many franchises in a direction of success. In reality,
I mean, you're kind of right.
The Giants won 2 Super Bowls. The Chargers were a really good team for a long time. I know they never, got to the pinnacle of it. And then, like I just said, Saints get Drew Brees. They win a Super Bowl. It completely just changes the course of NFL history, which is why I love it so much.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. And, more like I feel like you would have thought that would have started potentially a trend, and it hasn't. Like, we really don't see that very often. Although I will say in this year's class, it seems like some of the quarterbacks that could have came out early opted not to, based on the teams that were picking towards the top. But that'll, we'll never know.
And
I feel like that comes up. I feel like that comes up every few years, and it hasn't really happened, like you said. I feel like the option is not to look bad to these NFL teams, and instead just kind of hang back and wait and see what next year holds for these guys.
Yeah. And with like NIL, with the expanded eligibility, like it's more of a it's more of a probability that, like, oh yeah, I could stay in college one more year, not go to the Cleveland Browns as their starting quarterback, and like make $1.5 million in NIL funds, and like maybe finish a degree, maybe play a little bit more college ball, maybe win a Heisman or a Natty. You might as well stick back. But it is interesting too, like Eli would he have had the ability to pull a move like this if Peyton wasn't already in the league, if his family didn't have a rich history in the league? Like, it's interesting to think about the fact that he could kind of do this to a whole slate of NFL owners. But
yeah,
I don't know that you'll ever see it happen again.
Yeah, probably not. So I think that's a really great pick. Mason, I'll throw it over to you. What is a moment from the NFL draft that you found to be unbelievable? What the hell am I watching right now? Just something that only I feel like the NFL draft can really create.
Oh man, there's some great moments. I'm gonna go with some good roasting in the NFL draft. As an Eagles fan here, going with a little homer pick. One thing that always comes to mind for me when I think of the draft, just a moment that pops in my head immediately, is the announcement of the Eagles' second-round pick in 2018. David Akers is brought to the stage. It is being held in Dallas, obviously big rivalry there. Goes on to announce himself that he is announcing for the NFC East champs, divisional champs, conference champs, and world champs. That's right, the world champs. And then goes on to say that these draft picks weren't even born the last time that Dallas was in the Super Bowl. and goes on to announce the pick, which is Dallas Goedert, who goes on to fill the shoes of Zach Ertz, obviously a great tight end for many years. They kind of had that overlap there and has filled in those shoes. I mean, that was an all-time great, and then turns out to be a great player in the end with the name of the rival team. It's not really like a shocker moment as in like somebody was picked. Obviously, the other story that came out too was apparently the Cowboys really wanted Dallas Goedert, and I believe the Eagles moved up they jumped them to get that pick. So pretty awesome moment for Eagles fans, I think. Definitely the weight off the shoulders too, with that being the year after the Super Bowl. So just being able to give it to those Dallas fans for all those years who said, "Oh, we got all these Super Bowls and you guys haven't won one." Pretty great moment for Eagles fans, I think.
Sir,
for sure.
Am I mistaken in saying, was it in Dallas as well? Was the draft? It was in Dallas. Just like a little cherry on top. And you mentioning Ertz and Goddard, it made me think of Brent Selleck, and it made me think of the fact that the Eagles have just had such consistency at the tight end position, like probably since like 2007, 2008. It's pretty insane to think about. What a low key, like an underrated tight end team. But I love David Akers. I mean, one of my favorite players growing up. I used to love watching him and Sav Rocca come out. Sav Rocca kicking punts, just booting them. Nobody can do it better than Akers, and I love recreating his voice in that clip because it kills me every time.
Yeah, Pat did a really good impression of it in our group chat earlier. If you're lucky, I'll add it to the video. But it's funny that we're talking about tight ends and the Eagles right now because a report came out the other day that Zach Ertz met with Howie Roseman to potentially come back to the Eagles for a final season. So it'd be interesting to see if that materializes over the next couple of months. I know, when Ertz parted ways, he's gone to a couple teams, really revived his career with Washington over the last several. So for him, I think to come back to Philly for one more year would be a nice wrap on his career, which is crazy that it's kind of lasted this long because I feel like when he left the team, a lot of people thought he only had a year or two left. He's really been able to stretch that out.
Didn't he have an injury like right away almost with the Cardinals? Am I thinking correctly?
I think Ertz did have a pretty bad injury. He had a rough injury with the Commanders this past season too.
Yeah. Because when he left the Eagles, that was during the controversy of putting Sudfeld in. Am I remembering correctly? Putting the backup in the final game of the season, and the whole thing was kind of mired. And
then it came. Yeah. And then he wanted a new contract. He wouldn't show up to camp. Didn't he dye his hair pink or blonde or something? Blonde.
I think he dyed it blonde. Yeah.
Like bleached his hair. It was what a weird ending to that saga. But yeah, I mean, it turns out the pick was pretty awesome too. Dallas Goedert obviously hasn't had the production and not the all-time great that Zach Ertz is. But you could also argue, I mean, Zach Ertz especially on the Super Bowl team was probably like the number one option. I know Alshon Jeffrey was there, and the wide receiver core was pretty good that year. But I mean, Dallas Goedert's had to share touches with Saquon and Miles Sanders and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So to still have the production he's had turned out to be a pretty awesome pick for the Eagles as well.
For sure. All right, so the draft moment that I, at the time, found to be awesome. All these years later, I still remember it for how kind of unbelievable I found it to be. We go back to the 2017 NFL Draft. And the Atlanta Falcons are on the clock with the 26th pick, and they take Takk McKinley. And he's an outside linebacker. He comes out to the stage holding a portrait, like a framed photo of his grandmother, which was just awesome. I was like, what is going on here? He took a moment to shout out his grandmother, mentioned, had a rough upbringing. He's from Oakland, California. To be able to overcome, a rough early start to make it to the NFL was, a huge moment for him, a pinnacle of all that hard work and success. McKinley's gone on to have a pretty decent NFL career, probably not a first round grade or a first round talent per se, but he's gone on to have several nice years in the NFL. I think he has accumulated 20 and a half sacks over 7 seasons. So, I think that's a pretty respectful career, especially in the NFL when the average career is 3 years, 3 seasons. So to more than double that, I think is a tremendous achievement. And I just don't know if that'll ever be topped. Somebody bringing out a portrait of their grandmother the moment that they get drafted. especially because a lot of guys aren't going to the draft anymore. A lot of them are choosing to stay home or having draft parties. So for Takk to pull that one off, I'll always remember that one. It's nearly been a decade too, which I find to be crazy.
Yeah, I just had to look it up because I remember the moment, but I couldn't remember the picture. I mean, it is a full-size portrait. It's not like he brought up just like a picture. Like, it is pretty awesome.
It's big. It is big. So that was an awesome moment.
What a way to show respect. I do love that. Like every year you see like guys with like special things on their clothes, or I love when they have like it's sewn into their suit jackets. And they have like things that represent like their either upbringing or their college career or whatever. It's always awesome to see that. And Matt, you mentioning the guys not really going to the draft much anymore. I think Fernando Mendoza the other day said that he's likely going to decline the invite to go to the draft, which is interesting. I don't know if a first overall pick has not attended the draft in person. You guys would know better than I would, but
I feel like it's been a little more common over the last couple of years. I think trying to think of maybe the last one who hadn't.
Burrow wasn't there, right?
Yeah, but that was also the COVID draft.
Oh,
Burrow was the only one that came to mind, but it was
I'm just trying to think. I don't recall if Cam Ward was there or not last year. I think he was.
I feel like he was.
I think he was.
Probably have to go back and look, but I feel like I remember Trevor Lawrence being there. So
was everybody there in Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Or Green Bay or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's a tough place to go.
Nobody wanted to be there.
Milwaukee.
What the hell is there to do in Green Bay?
It reminds me.
That's why Takk wanted out.
Nothing to do out there.
Can't golf.
It reminds me of talking about Joe Burrow. It reminds me of like an honorable mention. I don't know if I can make an honorable mention at this time. Honorable mention: the COVID draft with Goodell in his chair in the basement.
What? Yeah, that is a good one.
I feel like maybe we all forget about
mansion.
That.
Didn't he have like a fireplace and?
Yeah,
it was
cozy
awesome.
Ass basement. Well, I'll one up you. That same draft, Bill Belichick's dog was the one that looked like it made the pick.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Dude, what a wild time.
That was a good one. But I just loved, like, he was wearing like a sweater vest or something. Like, it was just it makes me think, like, I don't think that was the same draft where when they're like, there were all those clips floating. Maybe it was the COVID draft. There were like clips floating around of head coaches at home and like their kids being in the background, like influencing the pick they were making or something. Like I remember seeing clips of the kids in the room as like their dad, the head coach, is making the call or making the decision. It's wild to think back to that time.
Yeah, that was a fun period in the NFL, especially because we were like starved for anything sports related. Another one that also comes to mind is when George Pickens gets drafted, and it spawned an incredible meme of him just like standing like really weird. I don't know if he was I can't remember if he was like chilling at his house or wherever it was, but the meme of George Pickens has lasted far longer than his career in Pittsburgh did, even though it's a very impressive one. That is just another draft moment that comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about draft memes. Russell Wilson's girlfriend.
Yes.
I mean, that one is.
Were they engaged or married?
They might have been. It might have been his fiance.
I think they might have been engaged. And yeah, that picture has quite literally like lived through the test of time.
The CeeDee Lamb 2 phones.
CeeDee Lamb 2 phones one was good. Yeah.
I love when the mom boxes out the girlfriend too.
Yes,
those are great always. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God! What was the one? The dad that smacked the girlfriend's ass. What
my
was
God!
That? Do you remember that?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh my God!
That was like a couple years.
That was like a number 1 overall pick. I feel like
I forgot about that. I think it was an O lineman. That went to the Chargers. Maybe
it was Lucas Van Ness.
Where did he go?
The Green Bay Packers.
There you go.
And yeah, his dad got a little handsy with the celebration.
It's just
I don't know how you live that one down.
That was awesome.
It is. They always produce such like crazy moments.
God, I love the NFL draft.
Sorry, just to go back to this Roger Goodell thing, because now now I found this thing. It is so funny because people were following it on Twitter, and like the later it got in the second round, he just starts sinking further and further back into his chair. And there's just clips from each pick, and he's just getting like more and more comfortable. It's so funny.
I mean, it was just an all-timer, man.
Yeah, and I think the one we haven't brought up, and I feel like it would be a massive miss if we didn't, wasn't during the draft, but it was right before when the Laramie Tunsil video came out of him in a bong mask. He dropped several picks because of it. That might be the most all-time, day of the NFL draft, and this picture circulating. I would have loved to see inside the different war rooms, teams just scrambling to go, well, we can't take this guy now. And he landed with the Dolphins, right? Is that where
he landed with the Dolphins. And he ended up having, I think he went 17th overall to the Dolphins, if I'm remembering right. You'll have to fact check me, but
he's had a very good career.
I mean, imagine being in the war room and explaining to Jerry Jones what a bong gas mask is.
I don't know if you have to explain that one to Jerry. I feel like Jerry might be on top of that one, but you're right. I mean that. Because you think about just some of these picks over time, guys with questions about their character. I think of Jalen Carter, who could have been the first overall pick, slides to the Eagles at 9 because of the question marks. And I mean, I don't think he's necessarily eliminated those question marks in his short time in the league, but just stuff like that, you don't get that in other drafts. You really don't. You don't get it in the baseball draft. You don't get it in a hockey draft. Basketball, a little bit. I think of when the Hornets drafted Brandon Miller out of Alabama a few years ago. That was like a big storyline. But other than that, like you don't really get that kind of stuff out of the NBA either. So only in the NFL draft, this league has some of the most entertaining moments for just guys sitting on their couches or sitting in a waiting room on stage. So it's pretty cool stuff.
I mean, that you could go so far, like they're like Brady Quinn falling in the draft to like the second round, and he's just melting down in the room as all these other quarterbacks are getting selected. Like there's a great NFL Films clip of that where you can just see like eventually Brady Quinn's like girlfriend just like left the room and was just like gone because he had fallen so far. I'm thinking about like the Raiders taking a punter in the first round.
You'll never see that again.
You'll never, but that was like Al Davis, and he ended up being like the great Ray Guy, ended up being like the greatest punter in NFL history, the only one ever selected in the first round. Like that's awesome, and you just don't get that. Like baseball, you get your starting pitchers, you get your like outfielders and all that type of stuff, but
well, the thing with baseball is the guys don't go right to the league. Like it's you might not ever see them again, and football, it's immediate impact every single time. And you are going to follow these guys. It has major fantasy football implications, especially if you're in a dynasty league. So stuff like that is awesome. So, all right. Yeah, I think that'll wrap this edition of Sunday Morning Slants. Leave in the comments down below your favorite NFL draft moments. Let us know if we missed anything. The NFL draft is just a few days away, so looking forward to that. If you have any draft takes, leave those in the comments as well. Appreciate everybody for listening, and have a good one.